So I'm Dr. Phil McCary, a chiropractor at Laurelhurst Chiropractic. My wife and I own it together. She's a chiropractor. She's on maternity leave right now. And we also have acupuncture and massage in our clinic as well. So I graduated at the very end of 2009, took a little trip and then started practicing it at the beginning of 2010. So yeah, it's been 10 years. We'd really plateaued. So we bought this clinic in 2014 and grew pretty well right off the bat. We just brought in new energy, modernized it a little bit. It was a couple doctors that had been in practice for a long time. And so we grew, and then I'd never owned a business really before. I'd definitely never had employees or really run a practice besides just by myself. So I'd kind of reached the level of what I knew to do. And we'd flatlined for a couple of years in a row. I think we were mostly flatlined for a couple of years in a row. And we just knew that we had more potential, but we didn't quite know how to reach it. We knew that our clinic was in a good location, good layout, that we had a lot more capacity, but just didn't quite know what to do. And we knew that if nothing changes, nothing changes. So I started looking for some help and ended up finding you. But I think I have some strengths, but like organization and systems are not my strength. So I was looking for particularly help with that. It was frustrating. It seemed like we were working really hard. It was inconsistent. That was a big thing. That was probably one of the biggest things, was really inconsistent patients, inconsistent cash flow. It was really up and down. So we'd have a really good month where a bunch of collections finally came in, and we're like, okay, great. If we can just stay here, then everything will be okay. And then things would kind of dive back down. I didn't quite know why. So I think the inconsistency was one of the really frustrating things. And then me feeling like I was doing everything, or my hand was in every pot, and doing a lot of things that other people could potentially be doing. It was keeping me from the things that only I could be doing.
What was the turning point moment for you when you felt like I need to do something about it?
So every year for the last 4 or 5 years, my wife and I will do an annual meeting. So we try to do a little retreat where we get away, but around New Year's we'll go away and we review the past year and review how things went, what goals did we set, what did we hit, what did we not hit, what might we need to change. And we'd set goals every year for the past 2 or 3 years and hadn't hit them. And so this past most recent meeting it was a frustrating meeting because we didn't quite know what to change. So we were, that was the big impetus, was that we'd had our annual meeting. Like, okay, something needs to change here and we don't quite know what to do. Maybe we need to start looking for some help. And so that's where I started looking around a little bit more and listening to chiropractic marketing podcasts and things like that, which is actually how I came across you.
What has opened up for you that you're excited about, first from having been a part of that mentorship?
Yeah, there've been a lot of things. So one is that I started this pre-pandemic, I believe. So having coaching and mentorship through that was really, really nice, to have someone that, to have someone to help guide through just unexpected twists and turns was really helpful. And then having some systems and tools and techniques that I could put into place and also come back to, because I think I needed to review things, some dialogues and techniques and different things like that. I need to review it, or you kind of lose it. You'll go try it and you'll lose it if you don't review. So having a system, having things to go to, having reminders, having check-ins, all that kind of stuff was really helpful for me.
Yes, because it was like pre-pandemic, and then it was during, right in the smack middle of it, right? It's totally unexpected.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it when it first happened?
At the beginning, it was scary. You don't know what to expect. And it was constantly changing. That was one of the things that was really hard, just from what information we had, what we knew. what regulations were from different, from all these different governing bodies, from state boards to the governor to city regulations to federal regulations to what's my malpractice insurance going to cover or not cover, all of that. Trying to see what we can do for telemedicine. How's that work for a chiropractor? Um, it just so many variables at the beginning that it was hard to keep track of. And then do we even stay open, from a public health and safety standpoint? Is it the right thing to do? For my health and safety, was it the right thing to do for my family? And so navigating all of that stuff, at the beginning, there were a lot of variables. Yeah. Having someone like having you has can be on the outside looking in. So sometimes when you're in the middle of your own storm, it's hard to see what's going on clearly. And so having someone that's on the outside, that's not emotionally attached to all the decisions, and that maybe hasn't seen this exact scenario before, but has seen, many practices that are similar. I think that can be really helpful. So having an objective or more, a more objective input is really good. Because a lot of times we're just going off of what our friends say, what we read on message boards, and a lot of times they don't know what the heck they're talking about either. So I thought that was one of the things that was especially helpful.
Awesome. And then you also ended up continuing on in our introverted visionaries 6 figures plus mastermind, where we are fast tracking growth to high multi 6 and 7 figures, and to actually have a practice running without you. And so tell us a little bit about what have been some highlights that have happened for you.
Yeah, a lot of it was just continuing the momentum that we'd started to build in the 90-day mentorship, and it was kind of a no-brainer to me that we'd seen this growth in the midst of a pandemic. We were growing. Why would we turn off the you were the main thing that we changed from last year to this year, and we've been growing. So why would I change that? Things that have opened up, a lot of it's been continuing to hone in on what we're already doing, and now other things we've added is needing to hire. So having some strategies for hiring, because we've been growing, so I need to hire people. Yeah, and then also it's been really helpful to have someone to check in on me and for accountability, because I do tend to still want to bounce around and try new things, and so I need someone to keep me focused.
And yes, because you're a visionary, right? And just have lots of ideas. And I remember you posting a few times. You're like, "Yay, this is our biggest!" But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, last month it was our biggest month, I believe, since we bought the practice. I'm almost positive, since we bought the practice. So in 6 years, it was our biggest month. We've been, I'm looking at some of the graphs of our trend line, and it's, we've been just trending really steadily up, and more new patients, busier schedule, getting the rest of my staff busier, and it's really exciting. Yeah, it feels really good that so many of my colleagues and things like that are talking about, are maybe closing practices, or talking about how difficult it is and how do you market, and all these different things that have changed, and they don't necessarily have answers, and we're growing. So that feels really good.
Yes. How many new patients did you have the other week?
I think we had 14 or 16. I forget which. A week or two ago. I think last week was another 10 to 14. We've been having 10 plus pretty much every week for the last 4 weeks or so, 4 or 5 weeks. It keeps me busy.
What was it like for you to have the done for you templates and scripts?
It's really helpful. I'm not great at creating that type of stuff. So a lot of times it's either winging it or cobbling together things that I've maybe taken bits and pieces of from other people. So some of the scripts in particular I use every day, and have really made a difference on converting patients. So some of the scripts were great, and just a couple of the questions here and there, a couple of the key questions honing in on have been really great. Um, and then also coaching on it to, because sometimes I'm naturally a non-confrontational person. I want people to like me, and not that you have to confront folks, but sometimes you need to just ask a sort of pointed question maybe. So having some coaching on that and not being afraid um, to do that was really helpful. And then some of the other systems, the visual framework that you teach has been great. We use that every day, and patients really respond to that as well. So those are two of the big ones. So the initial interview script and the visual framework are probably two of the ones I use the most right now.
Yes, it's huge. A good flow, a solid flow of new patients every week. Um, and what has been your favorite part of the mastermind experience?
I haven't always in the past been the person that asks questions in group settings, but the more that I've been brave about doing that, uh, the more it helps. So to getting the one-on-one feedback whenever I can has been probably, if I had to pick a most beneficial thing, probably that.
Awesome. And what are you most excited about with your practice now?
Yeah, I'm excited to see the growth keep trending, and then also to continue to hire staff that I can offload and offload some of my work to, so that I'm doing more and more of the things that I like to do, which is I like to adjust people. I've realized that I like to communicate and adjust people, and the rest of it I don't like to do. So so the more that I can have other people trained and equipped to do those other tasks, I'm excited about that. And then I'm excited about making more money. Um, because the busier you are, the more that you can make, and the more people we can help as well. There's a lot of people that are hurting and stressed out, and they need other options besides going to the pharmacy.
So true. And what how's your wife felt about this whole thing?
She's been really happy. Yeah, she's been really pleased. I it's too bad because we have an infant, so she hasn't been able to maybe see some of the recordings or things like that. Like I wish I think she would really resonate more if she was, or not resonate more, but I think she'd really resonate if she was able to watch more of it. But she's been so happy. And similar stuff, like when she went to a networking group with some other alternative healthcare providers, they were in a park, socially distanced. And she was able to do that a few weeks ago. And everyone was so stressed out, and justifiably so. And it was really negative. And she was able to, because for us, it hasn't been negative. And she was kind of able to turn the tide of the meeting actually a little bit and talk about some positive things that were happening, and things that we were doing and that she's been doing to stay positive. And so she's even like, yeah, she's even by just kind of being in the orbit of the practice right now, it's benefited her.
Like, how's this been different from other chiropractic practice management trainings you've had in the past, or business trainings you've had in the past?
Mm-hmm. I'd never fully committed to any other business coaches, but I did do some research, and I did go pretty far down the process with another practice management group that I was looking at. And I think they have some good stuff, but what I found with a lot of the other business coaches and practice management coaches is often they were uh, people that had really huge personalities, like very charismatic, and they built these big practices largely on their personality and their charisma. And at least that was my impression. Oftentimes their systems were pretty expensive right up front, a little bit cost prohibitive, and it didn't fully resonate with me. And I don't feel like I'm a shy person, but I'm also not the most extroverted, outspoken either. I feel like I'm in the middle. And that was a big thing that really resonated with your style, is that it wasn't contingent on me being a great closer or just super charismatic. That I could be a little more true to who I am naturally and work with my natural talents and abilities. Yes, that was one of the really big things for me.
And what's it been like being a part of the mastermind as an introvert?
It's good. Yeah, it's really good. I hopefully it's good for a lot of other people to help bring them out a little bit. It's a very safe place. Everyone, it's a bunch of people in similar situations with oftentimes similar personality types. Um, and yeah, it's just good to be in community with other providers for sure.
So what's your biggest vision for your practice?
The biggest vision is well, is that I'm showing up on Wednesdays to do some work in the office, and then the rest of the time I'm just managing the business. Um, I do like to treat, but I like to be with my family more. And so if we can get the practice set up to where it's humming, to where we have some great providers here and great support staff that are running it, and that I can more set the vision, market, still have my hands in it, of course, um, but just have more freedom. That's that's the ultimate vision for me.
And what, yes, because you've got little ones, right? And
Yeah,
share how old they're.
we got two little girls. They're awesome. They're so fun. So yeah, I have a 2.5-year old and a 5-month old.
So if you knew then what you know now, what advice would you give?
I think I think like stay the course. Really, you don't need to be nervous about getting started. I mean, of course, you're going to be a little bit nervous, but it's going to work out. Um, you have to do the work. There's no way to get around doing the work. But I would tell me to go for it. It's a great decision, and as long as you stick with it, and yeah, it's gonna get you moving towards where you want to be.
What would you say to someone who might be on the fence?
If nothing changes, nothing changes. And if you've been doing the same things, over and over and over again and not getting the results that you want, what's going to be different next year or the year after that? And if you feel like you're a person that isn't good at following through, that's exactly why you need a coach and a mentor. Um, every every person that's a high achiever that I know of in every arena, sports or whatever, has a coach. So find someone that will work for you, and go for it. And for me, Chen, and your system, your Introverted Visionaries program has been great.
Well, thank you so much again for being here with us today, and congratulations for all your successes and continuing to grow. And I know one thing that you were mentioning too. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, because you were mentioning that like one of the best things is just feeling more like in a flow, right? Like even beyond just your business, because just having more available to be with your family. And so that's just awesome. And so thank you so much again for being here. And for those of you who are at a place where you are at a plateau or experiencing a dip in your practice, it doesn't have to be that way. And feel free to go to introvertedvisionary.com and book a free strategy session so that we can give you insight into what's we see in terms of what's most frustrating for you in your practice, and how to have it grow much faster and have it be more enjoyable too. So, and for those of you who are already busy, then imagine having a practice that runs without you. So yeah, so go to introvertedvisionary.com and see you on the free session after you book it in with us. So happy to help. Thanks again for joining us today, Phil.
Thank you for everything.